To jump in today, what we're going to talk about is really kind of the bookend to the talk that I gave last Friday, or 2 Fridays ago at the Refine One Day. So that business breakthrough piece, as it reflects for us and our clients, is really about how you tie your gifts and you tie your skills, how you tie your ideal client into your business, and how you can do that in a way that's very authentic and very real and very profit-based too. I mean, I love how Terry says you can't pay bills on fresh air and sunshine. Like there has to be a profitability piece to each of our businesses. So we always want to make sure we're paying attention to that too. And all of that goodness is tied into this. So as I talked through that business breakthrough piece, we really talked about the kind of what the end result looks like. So today we're going to talk through the first at least few steps of how you start on that process so that you can really start to hone in on that for yourself. Because sometimes, you know, when someone says, well, what are your gifts? Everyone's like, well, I don't paint, or I don't do this, or I don't do that. We kind of think in very limited terms of what our gifts are. Plus, each of us are absolutely horrible at seeing our own. Like I can tell you Kara is right quick. And of course, as sisters, we can also tell you each other's faults right quick too. That's dangerous. I'm glad you're muted. So, you know, the other people are always the best at telling you what your gifts are. Yeah, I love that. I love the little waves going back and forth. It's great. Right? Exactly. That's good for a Wednesday. So as we hone in on those gifts, at first it feels very frivolous, and really your kind of type A or your more logical brain is going to say, put that little shiny object down and get back to work, and you know, to book a client or have a sales call or do this or that or the other thing. And hey, I've been there. I'm not preaching at you from the soapbox. This is from the trenches. Kara and I did it, walked through it, thought we were doing the right thing. You know, paying the bills, as I said just now, is very real. And that there's no shame in that. I really feel like it is the trajectory of growing a business that's very authentic. But naturally, of course, we go under skill sets. We go into what we are good at doing and how can we serve from that. And a lot of us try and tie it into our lives again. So there's maybe the first step of it being authentically us. But then from there, you know, what are our gifts? So as we dive into those, how can we then tie those in? So the first step is, okay, what are they? So that's kind of what we're going to talk through today, and what that freebie workbook touched on. Has anybody had a chance to look at that? I know life, right? But yay, look, she's even got it printed. I am so the girl that has to print it out. I get you in that. Kara, oh, good job, Kara. Congratulations. I'm glad you have yours printed. Oh my God, that's so funny. Okay.
Come on, I get points.
You get points. You get points. After I picked on you from stage so much, I guess you get all the points you need. I love it.
Okay. Oh yeah, Jody. Yeah. I forgot we're supposed to say that Jody's the best sister, right?
Yeah, that's baloney. Come on.
Next time she will be sure to fly in for these so she can.
Yeah.
I think I cured her of that. Oh, that's so funny. So, okay. So as we're talking gifts, the first page in that workbook kind of talks through the challenges of it. And I know that's always a fun part to start with, right? Is, oh, here are the challenges of this thing you're about to embark on. But there's a truth to it. And so part of it is you're going for a new perspective. And what that means is let's make sure that we are really paying attention to where our old hangups might be, like the way it's always been done, the way it has to be done. Those are sure signs and road marks of you are railroading yourself in the place you've always been. So anytime that kind of starts to come up in your mind, you know you're not establishing a different perspective. So try and this sounds so new agey crazy, but if you can detach yourself from the emotions of it and from the way it's always been, or the way so-and-so does it, or your mentor does it, or this book author said to do it, or whatever, if you can remove from that and come in at a new perspective, kind of that 10,000 foot view looking down, you can start to see where opportunities are, and you can detach emotionally, and you can usually see a little bit better kind of the lay of the land of where those opportunities might be. The other piece is the truth piece. So asking yourself, is this true? So this is this next piece to that sandwich of the way it's always been done. So after you say, well, the reflexology, I really have to have my clients be within a 5-mile radius. Bad example, but let's just say that's what was stuck in your head. And then you decide, oh, wait, from this news perspective, is that true? Do they really have to be 5 miles, 10 miles, 20, whatever it might be? How else could I serve them, or how else could I serve them long term? So you just kind of question yourself gently, because I am stubborn in my own head. Kara, stop shaking your head. I am stubborn as all get out. So you just want to kind of gently ask yourself and walk yourself through this process of, is that really true? Is that really true? And again, this is delicate, because we're going to want to stay in our comfort zone, even if our comfort zone isn't serving us. So that's a good starting point. The next piece, which people have a love-hate relationship with, is journaling, right? People have tried it, they hate it. I did it in the morning. You feel like you have to have the itinerary of your day written all down, and it's painful. And you wake up and you think, snooze button, 5 more minutes. I'm queen of the snooze button, let me tell you. So that journaling piece ends up being something that we don't naturally maybe want to do all the time. And on the flip side of that, maybe some of you already are, which is great. So that journaling space, I would recommend, you can imagine the opposite of the checklist of your day, the opposite of this happened, that happened, I was frustrated about this. And I'm not saying that it can't be those things. I think it's a good place to process, but letting it be a space where you're distilling your thoughts on your business. So, because it can be an area where you can reflect on where you're stuck. So you can start to see if you're stuck in something that isn't a truth. You can start to see where you're stuck in an old perspective. Does that make sense? Has anybody used, if you don't mind, has anybody used, Annette, Bridget, Erica, Monica, I can see a little bit too. Has anybody used, and Kara, has anybody used journaling to kind of help you see into your business a little bit before? Does anyone have an experience with that? No, yes, Annette has. Erica is shaking her head. Heck no. Monica is guilty and she's driving. Girlfriend, be careful. I see that smile from down there. Look at her thumbs up. Oh, that's too good. All right. How about you, Bridget? Have you ever done that? Yeah, some journaling to kind of reflect on that. Look at, she has it there when it gets points too. Bridget, did you shake your head yes or no? I missed it. Yes. Yeah, you have.
Yeah. Inconsistent. That's my mantra, I guess.
I hate that. Yeah, that is.
And I know more consistently it would be better, but yeah.
But hey, life, all the things, I get it.
My book, my journaling book, it says great things never come from comfort zones.
Oh, is it? Yeah, right. So maybe that's your message today. Like, yeah, the uncomfort is the first sign of success, right? I love it. Okay, so the next little travel warning that I wanted to talk about ties in with what Annette just said perfectly. So watch out for panic, chaos, discomfort, and what was my other one? Perfection. So the panic is the sign that you're nearing the edge of that comfort zone, right? Like you start to near the edge of it and you go, oh my God, back up, come back into this little safe space. And all that is a sign that you're going the right direction. As much as we want to put that down and just be like, okay, I'll leave that little box of dynamite there and back away from it, you're in the right space. It's just a sign that you're doing the right thing. So just embrace it as yep, you're going the right direction, keep going. So that's really good. The other one, the chaos, that might be my personal least favorite. I dislike that. So as you start to make these realizations and you start to realize, oh my gosh, there's this new truth arise, or this new perspective arise, or you start to see your business in this new way, well, all of a sudden you go, oh, things are shifting. And so the old is clearing out to make room for the new. This can happen professionally. Like you decide, an example of this would be suddenly you decide, oh, I really don't care for this service, and I am going to shut this down and move forward in a different way. And you go, oh my gosh, I'm going to do that. I'm really excited about it. And all of a sudden 3 clients cancel on you that day. Has anybody ever had that happen? Because I sure have, right? You decide, oh, I'm not going to do this. Or the flip side happens and suddenly they show up and they say, ooh, or, it's like the universe is Satan, God, whoever, however you want to word that for yourself. For us all in this group, we can say God. He shows that to you just to test you. Like, are you sure this isn't what you want? Are we really sure? Yeah, and we have to stick to our guns and say, yep, this is what we're going to grow from. This is what we're going to grow beyond. So that's the next little road sign that, gosh, you are really going the right direction. The other piece is perfection. And I'm calling out Sister Sue on this one, because Sister Sue, right? That perfection piece, what does that feel like? Because we've both been there. I'm just calling you out because I get to pick on you a little bit.
I'll allow it this time.
I'm
more of the technical side of Elevate 5, and I love the nerdy coding goodness. That's my thing. And so I also have a tendency to get so hung up on the details. When Jody started talking online course, I thought, oh gosh, what payment processor are we going to use? What plugins am I going to use? And I just, the perfectionism in me on that subject, just, it was all I could do for it to not shut me down and want to shut Jody down too.
And I love that you see that. And I certainly battle that too. But of course, when I get into that idea zone, I'm like, oh, we're going to do this and this and this. And I can watch Kara like go, oh my God, I'm going to throttle you. What are you doing? And with that, we balance each other out well. But I bring that up because that perfection is also, like the panic and the chaos, a sign that you're going in the right direction. And all you do is you say, thank you very much. We will figure out the how when we get there, which is totally what Kara did. She's telling you what happened in her head that she did not share with me, thank goodness, at that moment, because she totally nailed it, as she always does. But that perfection piece can make you all of a sudden say, no, I can't do that because I don't have da, 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 da. And then we start to put up roadblocks like, well, this doesn't look perfect, or I don't have this degree, or I don't have this certification, or I don't have such and such permission slip, or what's so-and-so going to think, or this or that other thing. So that perfectionism that can flare, although they can be helpful later on when you're more in the implementation stage, are dangerous to shutting down where you're headed when you're in that square one phase, because you can't answer those questions at that phase. We don't know yet. We don't know if we're going to use Stripe or PayPal or, whatever it might be at that beginning phase. And it's such a trap that we can fall into, and I certainly have. So I just want to make sure that we've kind of walked through those pieces. So that's the beginning piece of the call. I don't want to spend too much more time there, but I do want to quickly kind of tell you about Elevate 5 and introduce you to Kara a little more formally and what we're about. And then we'll step into these stories and the steps so that you guys can really get jumping along. So Elevate 5, as you guys already know, website, branding, all the goodies. Really what sets us apart is that we want to know you. It's exactly what this call is about. We want to know you. We want to help you know you. This process was naturally birthed out of us doing it for ourselves and then us doing it for our clients, because what happened as they came to us for branding or website design was, sweet Jesus, help me with a logo, but tell me what the heck it should look like, because they might know they like pink, or they might know they like blue, or they might know the business name. They didn't know really how it should connect and maybe who that ideal client was and how to tie in, how to make it really look like them, because they had never thought about it in a depth that they could share it in that type of a depth. And in the same way, has anyone ever froze on their elevator pitch? Because I have. Like, you sit down on that. I love your face. Yeah, I've been there and done that. We all, like, you start having this conversation, and if you're just telling us about it, like, I think Refine is a good example at the group tables where we kind of sit down and share more naturally. Having 5 minutes feels more like a conversation than the AKA pitch. But when you suddenly start to feel like, oh, I'm going to tell you in 2 succinct sentences what I'm about, who I serve, why you should care, we all freeze, and that's difficult to do. Well, you need that when you start your branding. We need to understand those things. You need to understand that for your website. Quite typically, that is, top level information, who you serve, how you serve them, what the big results are, key takeaways. All of that stuff needs to be seen, to be appreciated on your website, and for others to really connect with you. Because one of the things, as Kara and I were transitioning, that's perfect for this conversation is we really, our faith was always a building block for our business, but it maybe wasn't a sign that we hung out front. It was just something that built us, and we knew it was part of it. We would certainly talk with clients about it, and it was on our about page and different things like that, but it wasn't front and center as it more is now. So we have a few different target markets that we serve, and I will always answer the question as to where my faith is and where that builds into things. But by using it to create a key area of our business, can I tell you the fabulous women that have shown up to work with us, and what a blessing that has been in so many different areas. And you all are included in that too. I mean, it's been amazing. So by honing in on what was important to us, by being brave enough to put it out there, then suddenly those right people are attracted in. And that's part of this process too. So all of that said, I rabbit trailed. It's like my magical gift. One of my gifts, see, a gift. I want to introduce you to Kara, the uncool sister, which you already know is not true. Kara lives in Southern Colorado. She is, as she said, the tech side of the business and takes care of those goodies. We both overlap on the design side of things, which makes us unique there too. So I take care of the strategy, the sales side of things, the logo design and the branding and the messaging, and then Kara takes over and makes all things tech happen, and I am so thankful for that. Kara, can you tell them a little bit about, I don't know, whatever the heck you want?
Oh, well, certainly.
Yeah.
Big low pitch, right?
Great.
Well, I started a little bitty web design business about 10 years ago out of our little bitty ranch house. My husband is a rancher. And actually now a lumberjack. He's like the man's man. And I did not want to have to commute into town. We're about an hour from the closest decent sized town. And so I thought, that's it. I'm starting my own business. And so, like I said, that was 10 years ago. When Jody was going back to school for her master's, my little business was expanding. And to be honest, I wasn't even looking at how in the world to deal with it. Like, I was kind of just going into shutdown, like, I don't know how to cope with all of this. And Jody said, that kind of stuff really excites me. You know, I would love to be able to help you with it. And it made Jody nervous being self-employed, I think, at first. And God has a tendency to, when he wants Jody to do something, he shoves her off the cliff because she won't do it. And so we sat down probably one evening over cocktails and like planned out, you know, what would be ideal, what would we love, and what would be the services that we'd offer. And we kind of hashed them out. And I am not kidding y'all, within a week, we had a phone call from one of the leading heart surgeons about 2 hours north of us in Colorado Springs, who wanted those exact services. So
there it was.
Off the cliff we go.
Yeah.
So it's
and nothing like a high pressure client to start with, right?
Right?
Let's talk with the leading cardiac surgeon.
Right. So there we were with a real business.
With a real business. I love it. That's the perfect story. And that it illustrates the whole piece perfectly. So thank you for sharing that, Kara. So as you're working through the workbook, you'll see that the first thing it asks is your skills. And that's actually the last thing I care about, but it's going to be the first thing your brain is going to want to spit out and be like, well, we're talking about our business. Let's talk about your skills first. So get your skills down. And skills can be another list for your services. So if you're offering event planning services like Erica is, if you're working with a product, that's also applies. So I always focus on services. So I apologize, Monica, but just know here in your head, change that over to product, of course. Yes, she's like, oh, I got it. Been there, done that. So you want to get those listed out first. And you can also bucket them if it helps you to see, you know, think of them per the pain that it solves. So if this is going to make someone feel better, or this is going to, by using this skill, I relieve their pain in this way. There's different ways that you can chunk this down, but you really want to get it chunked down so that your monkey mind feels better, that it's all down on paper. We'll go back to it, but let's just get it down and out. So that's kind of where you start. And so as we talk through today, to be sensitive to time, I won't leave you space to fill this out, but as you go back to it, you'll kind of know and recall. So that next piece is the gifts, and that's where things get exciting. So what are your natural gifts? And this is where I had said, ask a friend, a spouse, a parent, your business bestie, anyone that kind of has an inside look on you. The sky's the limit on this, and don't allow yourself to skip it, because this is where the goodness starts. So it might be some examples are, you really enjoy, I'm going to use a personal one. You really enjoy organizing complex content. If that is not the nerdiest sounding thing I never thought I would say out loud, I can't even, because who would think that's a thing? But can I tell you that I use that skill all the time in our business, because the clients come in and they say, oh my God, I have all this stuff and I'm multi-passionate. And don't we all feel massive guilt over that? Like you're somehow supposed to only like accounting, or you're supposed to only like planning events, or you're supposed to only do these certain things. But it's like, no, I like working with people, and I like doing this, and I like doing this, and I like doing this. And maybe I represent this product, and I do this, and I do this. But what's true is when you write down your gifts, all of a sudden you can see what the connective tissue is. Like you can see where those gifts kind of align, and we can begin to share it with the world and your website in a really clear way. So because I like organizing complex content, guess what I'm good at doing? And then all of a sudden the client goes, what? I never saw that. How did you see that piece? Well, this nerdy little piece of me, because I paid attention to it and wanted to use it in the day-to-day, we found a way to weave it into the business, and it really helps others. And that's such a fun thing. Kara, what are other examples of gifts? It might be, go ahead.
We've really seen a lot of our clients, the groups, especially that have come in from Refine and other networking groups, have been just being able to encourage their clients. And that one doesn't seem very linear or anything like that, but that is such a major thing, especially if you are, well, even products, but especially services. I mean, to be able to just cheer on your clients, that's priceless.
Yeah, it is. Well, and it's so important. Like if depending on what you're about and where your gifts are, that one can become front and center with how you work with people. And on the flip side, maybe your gift is really that you're good at honing in and getting the work done, and that you're not maybe that client-facing person, which is also okay. I mean, God made us how he made us. Then you just, as soon as you can, you hire that out, so you can give up that stressor that you're maybe not appreciating. So if we pay attention to our gifts, we can involve them into the business in this very natural way. So as you walk through, you guys, my clock is down off my wall and it's driving me crazy because I can't see the time when I glance up. Okay. So we're doing really good on time. So that next piece after your gifts, does everyone feel, I don't know if I explained that well enough. Does everyone feel clear on the gifts part? What that might be? And that's on the phone. Bridget, are you feeling okay on that? Monica is good. I see a head shaking. Kimberly, are you feeling good? Yeah. Okay. Everybody's good. Perfect. I wanted to make sure I wasn't losing anyone. I can't see if eyes are glazing over from here. So I want to make sure I'm asking that question. Okay. So the passion piece, you'll see that next in that workbook. So your passions were put there on purpose, right? I was just talking to my son about this morning. Hello, God nudge, to make sure I was paying attention to that. And he says, Mom, I really like animals. Is that wrong that I like animals that much? Should I like people more than I like animals? And actually he said dogs. Kara, is that not awesome? That is totally what Kason said. 8 years old, like up to here on me, sitting on my lap, all sleepy, one eye open. He must have had some crazy dreams last night. I really like dogs. Is that going to be a problem? I said, honey, no, God gave you that gift. Of course you like animals, because I know you like animals. You've been that way since day one. That was a God-given passion. So maybe that gets tied into your business in the future. So those passions, of course, again, they can overlap gifts, but by wording it in a different way, it can also kind of flare up different ideas. So like Gail West, who's a Refine member, that's a good example. She didn't even know she liked watercolor painting. And all of a sudden she has a full-fledged business with a nonprofit arm that completely came out of her stepping into trying watercolor painting and then embracing the passion and the talent that was given to her. It was, what an interesting gift to see her form midlife, to go from I've never picked up a paintbrush to I have a business centered on painting. There was a passion and a gift there that was waiting to be unfolded, just like it can for you. Absolutely just the same way. In all of those pieces, so you start to see, so I said connective tissue earlier, and I think that is the same thing as we're moving down through this. I believe those signposts of our interests and our gifts and our passions, all of those little pieces lead us to our purpose. So I personally do not shut down near as fast with any other question as I do when someone says, what is your purpose? What is your purpose in life? That's a heavy question, right? But if you start to lead yourself through, what are your gifts? What are your interests and passions? You know, where do you like to serve? All those things, and you start to see that path that forms that connective tissue, then all of a sudden you can start stumbling into your purpose. And you might not feel like it's exactly fleshed out, or it's exactly this single sentence, I was put here to write, or I was put here. It might not be that solid that quickly, but you're on that path to discovering it, which means you can tie it into your business in such a beautiful way. So as you work through this, retain that space where you're above in your perspective. Like you're not feeling pressured. Because I think that when someone says, what is your purpose? We can shut down. Like that's oh, good God, that's a heavy question. Don't ask me that. I don't know. That feels like if I answer wrong, I'm misbehaving or somehow in trouble with God, right? So just don't maybe let it be that heavy. Rise above it. Watch that connective tissue that leads you from your gifts to your passions, to your interests, to your skills, and how that all ties together, and just let it take shape naturally, because it will. And as you walk through this workbook, you'll see that that's the shape that this takes. These first few pages, it really steps you through, oh, okay, I'm going to answer this question, this question, this question. And it's just important to let yourself answer what you know today, and not fall into perfectionism that you maybe are confused if it's not 100% right, or, oh, what if it changes tomorrow? Because all those things are okay too, because it's going to evolve and it's going to progress, and that's important. The next little section in your workbook is your story and struggle. Sorry about that. I know that one's a little heavy. So the story and struggle is, God, it's always something that we wish just didn't happen, right? It's that piece that's, egging in on your life that, maybe makes some days just not fabulous to get out of bed. Maybe that's part of the snooze button, or maybe it's part of, just not having time to grow the business because you're focused on the struggle. So the struggle can be distracting, but the struggle ultimately becomes something that builds you and can pour into the business. So an example of that would be, Kara, she just sent me a little text, let your mess be your message, so that can be part of your messaging, but it can also be, I'm trying to think of a specific example. One of our clients, who is a minister at a local church near the Woodbury area, she had stepped away looking to grow another business, and that opportunity closed down. And so she wasn't quite sure where she was going to serve or what she was going to do. She had authored some things. She had certainly worked with women one-on-one. She focuses on women's ministries. And she had certainly spoke and given many sermons. So she came knocking on the door saying, here are my talents. Here is my struggle. Here's where I'm at. And we wove it all together. And so all of a sudden she is a coach, which she calls discipleship coaching, because it's coaching with a flair towards your faith. She has certainly her ministry pieces, so she offers speaking services as well. So she really let that mess of what fell apart that she was not grateful for in the moment, like we've all been there, where you're going, God, I wish that wouldn't have happened. But that's maybe God pushing us off the cliff, as Kara so lovingly shared. And yes, it's so true. Then you can use that mess in your message. Has anyone experienced that at all? I certainly have used my mess in my message before. Monica, is that anything that you've ever shared with clients? Maybe how your journey with your product helped shape you and helped. So do you use it to connect with clients? Yeah, so that becomes such an important part. I think that's important. And maybe Annette, you probably, I'm sure, the same. So how Annette does reflexology. She shared that earlier on the call. So that can really change how you pull people in, like what some of the struggles are, maybe what some of your personal struggles were, and how reflexology changed that. So the mess is part of your message. Is that right for anyone? I see some nodding heads. Perfect. Okay. Got it. Okay. So I don't want to focus in on that any too long. I do want to leave time to give you guys examples. I looked up at my clock. Okay, we got time. I want to give you guys some examples of clients that we have helped, that we've worked through the mess, from mess to bless. I love it. That's so true. Very good. And that's what this is. These examples that I'm sharing here, it's from mess to bless, because it's from, you know, they kind of come in a place of confusion, you know, that lacking clarity, feeling stuck. It's funny how shame is a piece of that. That makes me sad, and I get it. I'm not in a judging way, but it makes me sad, because I think that is something that is used so often to shut us down, is shame. Shame in that, well, if we don't have clarity in our business, how can we have clients come in and have clarity, you know, and how can they understand? And so people don't put it out there, and then they think, well, I don't have clarity, so I'm not going to invest in this until I know what I'm doing. I can't really talk about it. So it's just one great big wall after another that finally boxes us in and cuts off the oxygen to creating anything that can grow and thrive, because we're not going to talk about it until we have clarity. But you can't get clarity until you talk about it. And it's just, honestly, I'm like, start getting into a cold sweat just thinking about it, because I've been there and I've seen so many clients there. And that shame piece is so what we need to walk through with someone, right? So isn't that just where we let the light in and it gets better, is on that shame piece? And this, as you work through this, you know, again, there's that emotional component to make sure you're not falling into that, because you are the same as every other client we've ever worked with. You're the same as what we went through. You are the same. And I guarantee if you start digging into, Karen and I were talking about Marie Forleo, Brene Brown, Elizabeth Gilbert, they will really share and be vulnerable about the shame piece, you know, of what that is in their business. Like, you can look back, and Marie Forleo will, if you search her first video, it is literally of her on her couch, crisscross applesauce, with a laptop recording her with bad audio. And I love it, because, you know, that's a multi-million-dollar business today with this little, you know, powerful remote team that we can all look at and appreciate. But she's real and raw and will show you where she started out. So I think that helps. Those types of things, talking with someone, looking at someone else's starting point that you really do admire their business today, those can all combat that shame component that can shut you down. So with that in mind, I want to talk about some of our clients that came in with maybe a little bit of that feeling, that lack of clarity, that feeling stuck, and all the yuck that kind of is attached to that, whether that be shame or guilt or all the things that we just talked about. So one of them was a wellness professional. We work with kind of a lot of coaches and authors and a lot of wellness professionals. We work with a lot of product-based, like direct sales folks. We work with, because they're all coming in, I think, looking for a center point. They're looking for a point that they can really anchor their business and move out from there. Like, who do I serve? What is my message? How does this move forward? And you wouldn't think all those different client groups have that in common, but they do. So this particular wellness professional came in. So she has this fabulous, she's a dietitian. She's got all the permission slips checked. Like, she's a dietitian. She's had all these courses and degrees and all this different stuff with her. And she has all these pieces where she wasn't sure how they tied together. So that was her shame element. She's like, well, I do yoga, and I also do, so she's a Juice Plus representative, which, you know, a lot of us know and love that product too. So she had that piece. She's like, but I've done a lot of work with this particular really well-known nutritional study, and I've got this and I've got this. And to her, it felt completely disjointed. And to me, looking in, all we saw was this wellness center. I mean, it really all comes back to the same thing. So where was that shame piece? But for her, you know, when you're in it and you're in the mess of it, you don't see the forest for the trees. So by walking through this process, and with her, we walked through it fully one-on-one, but by walking through the process, she came out the other side saying, oh my God, they are all related. There was this connective tissue in the center. And then the other discovery that we had that was really just thrilling to me. So here's my nerdy side again. But she, as we were talking through, she goes, well, I want to really bring back the teaching component of what I do and the training component of what I do. So I think how I need to teach these people, because she was that encourager at heart, like Kara mentioned. What I really like sharing with people is how they can easily serve their families and how they can affect their family's health by just cooking, you know, more kind of forks over knives style, more plant-based foods, less proteins, more of this, less of that. She goes, and it's really simple, but a lot of people misunderstand what's going on. So if I could do these workshops and I could do them for this really inexpensive price point, then I can really help people and they can see. But as you back up out of that, one of our first conversations is she's a mom of a young daughter. First and foremost to her is spending time with her family. Little family of 3, loves them up one side and down the other. They go mountain biking, they do all these great things. So as we're talking through that, I'm raising the red flag going, wait a minute, pay attention to what is authentically you, because it's not just our business side, it's also our personal. Because if your personal focus is, oh my goodness, I want to have time to serve my family, well then suddenly workshops on nights and weekends it might be successful, it might grow like great guns, but a year into it, you go, what did I do to myself? Here I have this thriving business that I no longer want to be part of because it's directly pulling me away from my goal in my personal life. So by having that conversation, we walk really quickly to, oh my goodness, I'm going to make this an online offering. This is repeatable. I can even get the price point down lower to serve people. Then because the people she served, her target market was busy young families, she goes, yeah, and then they can watch it when they want to watch it, in their office, on their phone, whenever, at whatever time they want. And it really was a triple win, right? So it served her how she wanted to serve people and her time limitations with wanting to be with her family. It served them, her ideal client, because they had those same time limitations, and it helped her meet the price point that she wanted to meet. So we were really able to make that a win-win-win, but you got to slow down and pay attention to that full picture so you don't get stuck in one area, because it makes sense to offer that as a face-to-face workshop. Like, that's a great thing. There's nothing wrong with that inherently at all. It's just that it was opposing another goal of hers. So by paying attention to all those areas, she could really see where to end up. Kara, would you share that little map piece that we had talked through? I think this would be a good point, and maybe that is what you messaged me about. I'm sorry for picking on you again. I love doing that. She's like, you don't bother me. She's cussing at me behind her mute button over there, right? We know this. Okay, so the map that Kara's going to pull up, this is part of that beautiful background. This is part of the coursework that we really help you work through. It's not in your freebie workbook. This is in week 2, but go ahead and take a screenshot of it, or maybe we can include it in the email follow-up that we send to you. But what this does is kind of show what I'm talking through. So it's that green center point or teal center point is the business nirvana. That is where you are happiest serving from. That is the people that you're ideally serving. They are most served there, so they're coming back. They're saying, they're talking about you. But that middle point is what your sweet spot, exactly, Annette. Perfect way of saying it, is your sweet spot. So the closer you can get to that center, the happier you are, the more successful your business is, the happier you are in your personal life. And it's a moving target. I mean, admittedly, it is always moving, but if we're aware of it, we can pay attention to if all of a sudden we have a service that we're bringing out, or a product that we're bringing out, or an ideal, or another client that we're pulling in that's maybe outside of things. And it's not that you have to say no. I mean, we can make those decisions in the moment to say, okay, this isn't quite my ideal client, but I'm going to do this because X, Y, Z. It's kind of just a matter of being aware of it. So as you get closer to that center point, oh man, that sweet spot, that's where I want to serve from. Serving my ideal client, the client that lights me up. We talked about being excited when you see their name come up on the cell phone, serving that client that you can really serve, who's speaking of you in such a positive way. You're using your gifts and passions. So by the time you're done working with them, instead of being exhausted, like we've all been there, like get off the phone, and it's just not a good match. It's not that they're broken. It's not that you are, it's just energetically maybe not a good match for the right. Yeah. And Annette's like, I know exactly what that's about. You really hone in on that. So that person that wipes you out versus that person that lifts you up. And the same with you, if you're serving from your gifts and passions. Like if you asked me to do your bookkeeping, I could probably pay my bills at the end of the month, but I would be exhausted and I would not be a very nice person. The kids would not like me. Kara would especially not like me. It would not be a beautiful thing because I'd be outside. She agrees so readily, you guys. It's not nice. I would be completely outside my gifts and passions. Oh, okay, we got 10 minutes left. So I want to hone in. But And the same is true with those business services and the purpose. So the closer you are to that center, the happier you are. So really kind of focus in on that and let it be simple, you know, and you're not, and forgive yourself if you're not in the center. You know, if you're floating off somewhere on the side, just start bringing it in, start pulling back to that center for yourself so that you can be fulfilled, uplifted. Same for your clients at the end of the day. It all starts gelling and coming together. Perfect. Thank you, Kara, for doing that. What I would like to tell you about, with your permission, if it is okay to tell you about the full process and what we offer in our masterclass, because the masterclass will take you through this freebie workbook and beyond to help you step through each level of this so you can understand, oh, this is exactly how I do this whole thing and apply it, and then come out the other side with a very specific plan for how to do that. Oh, Kara has a link to the map on there. Thank you, Kara. Is that okay if I tell you guys about that here with our remaining minutes? I see some head shakes. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the Business Breakthrough, that masterclass, it's a 5-week course. I talked a little bit about it the last time. Maybe Kara would throw up the link to that page in case they want it, or even just bring it up if you would. So it's a 5-week course. We really were trying to pay attention to everyone being time sensitive, because I know running your own business, you don't have 6 months. Like, no, this has to be quick and to the point. There are 3 modules as part of it. So it's not a full 5 weeks jam packed. There are 3 modules with 2 weeks given to completing work that maybe you got stuck on. There are 2 group calls similar to this. We'll do it in this fashion, where we can get your questions answered so that you're not stuck and you are moving forward. Part of that, there's over, I don't want to freak you out, there are 70 workbook pages, and that includes fill it in. Here, it's exactly what you guys printed out for the freebie. It's answer the question, move to this, answer the question, move to this. So it really steps you through. Our whole idea was to lessen any type of overwhelm, so you can just rock forward with that. There are videos, they're really short, they're about 10 minutes, just explaining, okay, here's how you walk through that workbook, here's how you go to the next step. Answering all those questions. There are tons of bonuses for specific businesses and things that move off on the side. That's all built in. There are clarity worksheets at the end of each section that you work through so that you really have everything honed in. I don't know if any of you have ever done an online course before where you dive in and you do the course and it's great in the moment, but then 6 weeks later, it's like, what was that again? What was that blip on the radar screen? What did I do? I personally hate that. So part of my past job history is working as an online instructor. So this especially drove me crazy, and it was for a local university, so it was young adults. Well, they're especially consuming information at a high rate of speed. So I just felt like, man, are they really going to remember that? You know, what can we, how can we help our Elevate 5 folks that are now working through this remember, so that they can really hold on and continue to apply it. So what we made part of this, and this is my personal favorite, I think it's all important, but this is my favorite, that after you're done, our team goes in, you have to turn in your work. I mean, you submit your work. You can't see that college instructor background side at all, can you? Like, is that obvious there? Maybe a little bit. Forgive me. You turn it in, but what we do is we take it and we slice and dice and distill it and make all these great discoveries for you, so you have a brand strategy report to walk away with. That way you don't come to that point 6 months down the road or 6 weeks down the road and say, what was that about? So we jump in, we make your client service statement for you, or refine it if needed. So that would be that elevator pitch. I dislike that term, so I don't refer to it as that. I think it's a passion statement, or a service statement would be how I think of it. We make sure your ideal client summary is on point, maybe make any suggestions there. We list your unique gifts, including any that we see as we're discussing with you as we go through, making sure that that's all listed out. We include that list of your service offerings, because that right brain is just going to want that listed on there. We make sure that's on there. And we put any suggestions that, or discoveries you had, or suggestions we might have as to how to tie that into your business, so that you have it all in one place. And then the final piece that the designer in me gets excited about is that we make any branding recommendations that we can make, so that you know, oh man, this should be the tone of my messaging. Maybe there's a little humor to it. Maybe there's not. Maybe it's got to be really professional. We make any recommendations of style, color, any other things that you could then use to take and have a brand created or a website created. So this really becomes a foundational piece that you can do whatever you want with, whether that be, I'm going to use this to really grow my business in this specific space, or I'm going to use this to develop a logo or a website or whatever. So you can take that report and hand it off to your designer. You could take that report and keep it to yourself and build your business from it. You can really use it however you like. So that's kind of an exciting piece. All right. Well, you guys, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you were served. I hope that helped you see a little bit how you can tie those gifts and skills in your business. Bridget, I look forward to talking to you in a couple of days and learning more about what you're all creating over there. And then we'll step forward from there. Oh, thank you, Kara. Perfect. There's the link. All right. Thank you, ladies. Please don't hesitate to reach out, email, call, whatever works. We'll answer questions and really get you moving forward. Thank you.